The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Hello, West Michigan. This is Grand Tap Media Business TV. My name is Pamela Keim, your host. The spirit of the show is to introduce West Michigan to all the businesses, nonprofits, individuals that can help us thrive in our lives. We have a couple very special guests today. And today it's going to be more, we're going to be talking about not so much a nonprofit, but a mission that is happening in West Michigan. And this mission is to save marriages. Maybe some of you are on your first marriage and realize that you're not quite where you'd like to be, or maybe it's your second marriage and you do not want to go through another divorce, similar to what I feel at times. But this next guest is going to share a program that might help you or someone you love or somebody in your community that you know that are struggling that you could share with. I want to welcome to the show David and Michelle Bottrall. Yes.
Hello.
And
Nice to meet you.
they are, and you're going to share exactly what that program is and why it is geared towards people that we really do want, I want to go back, we really do want strong marriages in our community. And that makes up the heart of our community. And when we have issues with people breaking down their marriages, it affects more than just their families and their children. It affects the community.
It does.
Correct?
Exactly.
All right, you're going to share this great program called this great program called Retrouvaille.
Yes.
There.
Good job.
Good job. And what that means and how people can tap into that. And you have something coming up in February, and that's
do.
why you're on the show.
Yeah.
So please explain how you got involved with that and why you got involved with it. Were you struggling? And what is it?
Well, our marriage was on the rocks, and Michelle, you were the one that started digging online and making phone calls and tell her what you found.
So actually about 15 years ago, we had reached the point that I couldn't talk to him anymore. We had no communication in our marriage at all. The trust between us was gone. Not only did I not love him, there were times I felt like I hated his guts, and I just did not know how to get past it. Really wanted to stick to our commitment, but we had no idea how to stick to that commitment. We were seeing a counselor every 2 years. Every time we would have a problem, we would go back to the counselor, things would get better, and then it'd slowly deteriorate, and in 2 more years, we would be back again. And this had been going on for 15 years. And it was finally at the point where I had given up. I'd shut down completely. Some things had happened that just put a real wedge between the two of us. And a friend had been through Retrouvaille, and I was like, no, that's still not for me. And then I called Pine Rest and said, I need something better than counseling. I need intervention. And Pine Rest said, well, there's this local program. And I fell on my knees, literally bawling, saying, okay, I guess this is what we got to do. So.
And when you say problems, and we, coming from a divorced and having a wonderful marriage, as I do today with my second husband, when you mean like you couldn't communicate, or was it arguing? Was it like you felt like the other person didn't care about you? Or what was it? What did that look like? Because a lot of people out there, I will share with you, since COVID, the Great American Shutdown, were actually in their homes. 2 people, or maybe one person, and you might be seeing this today, was essential, like my husband's job was essential and my job doing events was not essential. So here you are, everything's taken away from me, and then all of a sudden he goes out the door and he's able to still continue on and bring a paycheck in or whatever, which I'm grateful for. But at the time, many people I know said that divorce went up, they argued a little bit more, and somebody had to take care of the children and all of that.
All that stress just made it so much worse.
What was it like for you? Was it just not talking, or was it just like you felt like the other person, you couldn't share? What did that look like?
I was a person who, and still am to a great extent, who would do anything to avoid conflict.
Why do you think that is?
Part of, just part of my, well, part of my personality is part of it, but it was also a survival method as I was growing up.
Right.
And so so often when we go into a marriage, we think that it's a clean slate. Wow, we're starting from a clean slate.
Or it's going to fix something.
Or
Yes.
it's going to fix something. And we just don't
And it's
realize it's not. We don't realize that we are coming into a marriage. We come in with all our family of origin problems, all the things that were good in our backgrounds and not good in our backgrounds as we were growing up. So I came in with a certain set of values based on what I had seen, and she had her values. And these were different in the sense that we, I guess getting to what we've learned in Retrouvaille, is that you're never in the room alone with just the two of you.
Correct.
Behind you are all the people who loved you and who didn't love you and who shaped your life. And the same thing is true with both sides. And so you're coming into a marriage fully having been influenced by what you saw growing up. How were your parents to each other? How did you see them interact?
With conflict. How did they handle fighting? How did
Exactly.
they settle? You know, a lot of people have no sense of skills, or they think, well, we'll just figure it out. And I always tell people, look, when you get into this will be what I share with young couples that get married. I mean, look, there's going to be things before the marriage, if you don't, these little things that bother you, and you think, okay, well, that's not a big deal. But it becomes a big deal 10 years down the road, and you feel it, and then when you finally have that conflict, you're still fighting, well, you did 5 years, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever, and
Sure.
it isn't even what the problem is, but all of a sudden you get all of it.
You're exactly.
And you're standing there going, I thought this was about cooking, not making dinner. But it isn't, and it gets
No.
to, I see
Everything.
that all the time
Yep.
with people, and they're like, it used to, everything that they loved about the person that was different from them, that they needed to, it kind of completed them, absolutely drives them crazy. If they don't, does that make sense?
Oh,
Absolutely. So Dave did everything he could to avoid conflict.
I do too.
On the other hand, as soon as conflict hits, I'm screaming, yelling, and throwing things. And so he is like doing everything he can to avoid me, and now I don't feel listened to. And so it just
Or
went
you
on
can't
for
share your
years
feelings.
and
I can't be
years.
honest with you.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
I can't come home and share my thoughts without being judged.
Right.
Why do we do that? I always tell my husband, I will share with you, Dave, which is the same as my husband. It's like, I don't know why I'm feeling the way I am. I don't know why I'm overreacting. I don't know why I'm, what he calls it, on the ledge. Like
Yep.
everything, I'm like, I'm not sure. All I know is what it feels
Yes.
like.
you're 1,000% right, because we learn in Retrouvaille that one of the most wonderful things we learn is that feelings are neither right nor wrong.
No.
They are what they are. Now, how you act on them is different. You have to, but to have them is
Okay.
way okay. And the worst thing that you can do in a marriage is to tell your spouse, well, you shouldn't feel that way.
Or why are you feeling that way?
That's-
You have it so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like waving
And that
a,
doesn't make any
it's like
sense, right?
waving a red flag in front of a bull. It is so wrong to say, sorry, that is how I feel. And Retrouvaille is so good about teaching you how to respect the other person's feelings, not judge, this is how I feel, it's how I feel. Okay.
Is it better? Okay, let's talk about the program, and that's why I wanted you on the show, Retrouvaille. What is it? Who puts it out? And who can be part of it? There's a price for, all the things that people are probably watching, saying, oh, I could give this to my daughter, because parents don't want their children to get divorced.
Of course.
No.
Even though they may have been divorced, they understand what what will happen.
Sure.
And I was told when I was got divorced, it's like, okay, you can go back to your first marriage at the time, which didn't seem, out of my, there's going to be problems. You can get divorced. There's going to be problems.
That's true.
You're not going to, either way is going to get.
Either way.
All right, so then you're dealing with both people in first marriages, second marriages, because I have talked to people that had the program. That was first marriage. So share what it is, and maybe a mom or a dad or that's watching the show, it's like, you know what, I don't want our son to get divorced. Maybe we should send this to them. So who gets to come, and how big is it, and how do I qualify? And
Well, if I had my way, we'd give it as a wedding present to
I would think
everybody.
it's very well.
For
the Catholic,
sure.
talk about it. It's from the
Yes.
Catholic Church. They do a great job.
It is.
in doing
Oh.
pre.
Yep.
Right?
So was founded in the Catholic Church. It's similar to Marriage Encounter, but whereas Marriage Encounter makes a good marriage better, Retrouvaille is really for those marriages that are hurting, and often we see that it's a last resort for people. This is their last hurrah to make it work, and if this doesn't work, they know they're heading for divorce. It's a weekend program.
Okay.
It's given by people that have been exactly where you are, where we were. So it's not given by professional counselors. It's 3 presenting couples that have been through the program themselves. We spend the whole weekend working very, very hard together. And then there are 6 weeks of follow-up sessions that go for about 4 hours for the session once a week. And
Okay.
people that have been through the program, the whole program, all 6 follow-up sessions, 5 years later, 85% of those people rate themselves happily married.
And wouldn't
So-
that be a great
Oh.
success to say to yourself, okay, you can go through this program. You have an 85%
Yes.
chance of not going. And
not going through
all they have to do
divorce.
is interview people that have gone through the divorce. I'm like, do it.
Oh.
It's worth it.
It is so worth
You know how
it.
much lawyers are going to cost, what your assets are going to
Yep.
cost, what your children are going to go through, what your community, what your church. And a lot of people that don't realize that I discovered when I went through a divorce is that you lose half your family. Just like that.
You do. It's so sad.
People don't know how to deal with divorce.
And
they don't know what
often-
side. They can't be friends with both.
Often half of your community too. So
Right.
not just your family, your friends, your business acquaintances, everybody that you have cared about in your life is suddenly split in half, or
Put into
God
horrible-
forbid, maybe you've lost more than half because your spouse that you divorced did a good job of smearing you or
Right,
something,
and
right?
that is
and
what
that
happens.
happens.
Exactly.
It does.
And
It's unfortunate.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate here when
Okay.
it comes to men, because I've heard this from other people that have gone through marriage retreats. Okay, and trying to fix something that's broken or what she thinks is broken. Okay, the guy always thinks
Right.
that I don't know what she wants from me. I'm doing. They're providing, and they live in a big. You know what I'm saying? All the good things. So you get there, and he's like, you know what? I go, so how was the retreat? And he goes, well, it was just a weekend where I need to be fixed. When they came in, it's like, it's just a retreat. Guys see it as, it's just going to be a retreat for her to fix me. Yeah, the guy.
Sure.
What do you think of that?
I think that one of the best things about Retrouvaille was helping me rather than fix me. I saw it as giving me a bunch of wonderful tools to make my life happier with her, in the sense that men are, in my case, I knew about 3 feelings: happy, mad, sad.
Yeah.
I think because I'm a man.
Right.
And I think that in many cases that's pretty typical. Well, you're stoic and you're the provider, or you're
What do you
whatever.
think? What do you feel? What do you think? That's all we
Yeah.
ever want to know,
Yes.
right?
That's right. And so you're exactly right, because then Retrouvaille helps you get in touch with yourself, in the sense of, well, how do I feel about that? First of all, feelings are neither right nor wrong, so it's okay to have feelings. And how on earth can I ask her to do something within the marriage if I can't tell her how I feel about something? So it was very helpful to help shape me get to the point where I could actually tell Michelle, this is how I feel. And it was certainly helpful to her, I believe.
Right.
Because she would tell me something and it's like I didn't even have it register until it's the 10th time that
And by
she's
then
told me,
I'm-
and she's a sobbing
Yes.
mess. And you had a good example that you used where something you were telling me, how did that go?
Oh, so I was telling you something. We woke up one day in the morning and I was telling him I was feeling like there was no passion left in our marriage, and I didn't know why, and I didn't know what to do about it. And he's getting ready and putting on his tie for work and brushing his hair, and he's like, okay, honey, we'll have a good day. And he walked out. And I'm like, are you kidding? But when I said I was frustrated and I was whatever, he couldn't understand that because he didn't even understand really what those words meant. But going,
So I came back.
You
So
came
when you
back.
say passion, let's get to that one. When you are sitting with couples, do you ask them what a description of that looks like? What would be
Oh, no.
a day of a passionate relationship?
So
What is that?
The interesting thing about Retrouvaille is that we don't actually ask the couples anything.
No, they never have to
They
disclose.
they don't disclose any of their problems to us. We sit up front and we tell them a small portion of something that we might have gone through, and then we send them back to their rooms to discuss those same instances between themselves. So you don't ever have to reveal anything on the weekend that you haven't both already spoke about together. All the work is done just with you and that person together.
So go further and explain, share with the West Michigan, what would a day look like going into Retrouvaille? What would that look like for the couple? You go in, you are in a room, or you were in a, like I hear it was at a hotel
Right.
at one time where
It
they
was,
stayed.
yep.
So you're
So
there.
we walk into the room at 7:30 in the morning, truly. Retrouvaille takes care of all of your meals and everything for that weekend. You listen to a presentation by a couple and a priest, and then they send you back to your room to discuss whatever portion of that relationship that the couple was talking about and giving examples. And then after you've discussed for a certain amount of time, you ring a little bell in the hallway and everybody comes trooping back. And then you talk, and then you hear another presenter talk about a different set of problems and how they handled them using the principles of Retrouvaille, and then they send you back to your room again. And you do that all day long, starting Friday night until late Sunday afternoon.
Now,
It
when you
is
say it's part of the
really
Catholic
tense.
Church, but from what I understood, you don't have to be Catholic.
Absolutely
You're not there
not.
to, people are
No.
so, don't want to convert you. And I'm like, yeah,
Right.
like that would be the problem, right?
Yeah.
But instead of
Oh.
saving the marriage, but
Yes.
you know what I'm saying?
In fact, we're not Catholic,
No.
and we're one of the leaders. So
That's interesting.
So we found out about the program because I went to a women's Bible study where we were from all different backgrounds, and it was a Catholic woman that had recommended it to me. But we're not Catholic, and we've stayed involved with the program since we went through it 14 and a half
So they're
years
not,
ago.
when you have these discussions, it's not that they should be sharing. They're personal. That's not what you're there for, to be
No.
their
We're
day in
not
court.
there to be an
I want you to know
intermediary.
it's not all my fault, right?
Right.
As couples do. I want you to know his issue, and I always tell people, you may never get your day in court
Right.
to let you, that the jury's going to say, you know
Yep.
what, Michelle, you're right. That's never going to happen.
No, it teaches you that this idea of if you have to win an argument, you both lose.
Right.
That's
and
the
it
truth.
teaches you compromise. So much of marriage, most of marriage is a compromise of some sort. And one of the other things that as they go through this step by step, one of the things they'll deal with, talk about at least, is family of origin and how we bring those things to the table. And it is, and we go into personality types.
Okay.
They get to examine that, and it's pretty dead on. It's amazing.
Really?
And when you realize they deal with 4 personality types, and then when you take this little interesting little
yeah.
survey thing, this is what you are, then you look and you see with this workbook, you see, oh my gosh, I am a helper. In my case, that was my personality type.
Right.
But then you see that helpers tend to do boom, 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 and helpers also have to be careful because they boom, 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 boom. And you realize, oh my gosh, the first thing under helper, where it's describing us, it says helpers will do anything to avoid conflict. And so I'm looking at that and thinking, oh my gosh, that's me. And it's so reassuring to know, I thought I was the only one in the world.
I know,
Yes.
it is. I'm like
And-
that too. I don't like conflict. I like peace.
Mhm.
I like a peaceful home. I like to come
Sure.
home and just kind of tell my day. But not everybody is like that.
Well, we have different ways of getting there, right? If there's going to be conflict, I would just as soon face it immediately,
Right.
talk it through, resolve it, get it done with, so that my stomach isn't in a knot all day. He would just rather run away from it so that his stomach isn't in a knot. And if it comes up later, well, then he'll run away again.
Exactly. And then you
yeah.
learn through Retrouvaille, you learn this running away isn't doing any good whatsoever. You talk about the expression of ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You find out that you keep running away, it's like, A, you're not getting it resolved, and then B, it through imaginification or whatever word you want to use, it becomes a heck of a lot bigger problem
Yeah.
than it ever was to begin with. So you do learn something I had no clue about. You do learn in Retrouvaille how to deal with conflict management. It's okay to disagree.
It's okay to have conflict as long as you handle it constructively.
Yes.
And I had to learn how to not yell and scream and throw things, because he didn't hear me when I yelled and screamed and threw things, so I wasn't accomplishing my goal anyway. You asked about going in and fixing the man. That is exactly why I went to Retrouvaille. He needed to be fixed. Halfway through the weekend, I threw my book at his head and said, "It's all your damn fault.
Right.
We are here because of you." And when he ducked, I swear it was like God opened up my eyes and said, "No wonder he can't tell you anything. He's scared to death of you." Anybody would have been scared to death of me. I was not nice. And I had to really learn some anger management techniques for myself so that we could get to a point we could communicate. It was not all his fault. It was my fault too.
Right, and that's what you kind of say when it's not saying you're taking sides.
Right.
And I don't even want people to even take my side. Just especially when it comes to like your first marriage, right?
Right.
It's over. It's moved on. Just forgive me that I wasn't the best person in every situation. If you hear, give me some slack, right? If you hear that I wasn't the greatest person, whatever, just please know that you're going to be judging a person that doesn't exist anymore.
I think we all go into marriage expecting certain things.
Yeah.
And life's what happens when we make our plans, like John Lennon said, right? It's never actually measures up to where we might have thought that it should measure up. Retrouvaille teaches you how to talk through that and to understand how the other one is feeling. Even if you don't agree with how they're feeling, you at least then can come to an understanding of how they're feeling, and then that will change the way you respond to them. So it helps a lot.
One of the tools that they give you is they teach you the ability to talk to each other in what I would call a safe place. I know that word is overused at times, but in this case, I visually say that when you're watching a movie and you see an army over on this side and an army on this side, and there's a person comes out on a horse with a white flag, and a person comes out on a horse with a white flag, and they meet in the middle of the field, they know that under the white flag that they're not going to hurt each other. That's a symbol of yeah. And so I kind of look at it like I've learned to talk to her and communicate with her, and she's the same way, that when we're talking, we're not judging. We're not just blanketly saying you always, or my mother never would have done this, or you shouldn't this. You just learn to talk to each other in a far more respectful tone, and a far more, you realize you're equal. I think that's one of the biggest things that I ever got out of Retrouvaille, is the fact that, oh my gosh, two people like one horse can pull 2,000 pounds. Two horses working together can pull about 8,000 pounds. Now,
Right.
the veterinarians out there can agree or disagree, but the biggest thing that I had to learn was that she was an equal. I grew up in a household, or my grandparents raised me, and there was no equality. It was 100%. My grandfather, God bless him, who dearly loved me, but it was the most unequal household. It was not Ward and June Cleaver, believe me.
I want to go down my street knowing that my neighbors are competent enough to raise their families. Their marriages are good. They have careers. They've got their resources. They've got their extended families or whatever. I want to know that every neighbor's doing that. I don't want to carry the burden for everyone else.
No.
I just need to take care of my marriage and my family and our situation. But to know I could drive down the street, and most people in Ada, I will tell you, are able to take care of themselves. But that's a wonderful feeling when you think that, when you go down the street, the same way when you go to your family and you see your family, extended family, everybody's taking care of each other. Everybody's taking care of their marriage. Nobody wants to hear some of the, the fighting, the bickering,
Sure.
take side, and
Right.
we drag other people into our drama. And I always tell people, I want to save every marriage. I want to save
Wouldn't that
every
be
family.
nice? That
But
would be so wonderful.
I can't do it all. I can just pray, and that's why I wanted to have you on the show. So tell a little bit about how people can contact you,
Okay.
and maybe if they have questions, learn more about your program, and then maybe want to bring it to their church to say, yeah, let's save marriages.
That would be
Let's
awesome.
save marriages.
Let's
Yeah.
save the family.
Because
Right, save the family.
Retrouvaille teaches you the grass is not greener on the other side. It's green where you water it.
So even Pope John Paul II, this is one of the quotes we give in our presentation, even he said, as the family goes, so goes the world. And so, yes, we need strong families because if we have strong families, we will have strong communities, strong neighborhoods, and eventually a stronger world. So Retrouvaille is an international program. It's
Okay.
actually offered in 28 countries. So it's all over the place, but it came to Grand Rapids in 1994, 97, something like that. And it's been going strong.
Okay.
We have 2 weekends a year where we open it up for people and then have those 6 follow-up sessions. And you can find out more about the program by going to helpourmarriage.com, and that will get you into the international site. If you want to be on the local site, or if you've gone through Retrouvaille before and want to come to our monthly support program, then you would go to retrograndrapids.org. And that
And they learn
will-
more information about
Yep.
that, and
Yep.
they don't have to be Catholic to be part of it.
Oh gosh, no.
And because you
Or
said you
any
weren't Catholic,
religion.
any religion.
You don't have to be any religion. We won't force that on you at all. We will not try to compel you. But I will say, if God's right there asking to help you, why not take all the help you
sometimes
can
that's
get?
that one person
Yes.
that needs to be there to
Yes.
fix it, because you both can have your own
That's right.
teams, right? And
That's
then bring
right.
it together and
Yep.
let's
Oh.
win this one.
Yes.
My value system was not working for me, and I had to turn to God to have the greatest instruction booklet in the world is the Bible, and He wants you to be happy.
Exactly.
So
And he
whatever your
knows what's
faith-
best that's going to fix
Yes.
your marriage.
Yes.
And I always say what works for you works differently for somebody else.
Sure.
That's
but
right.
if we all have the same mission, is that we all want to have good marriages,
Yep.
we make that work. Like, I'm a golfer, and we'll have to talk about that more about that. But Retrouvaille, you can find it on, I will have the link below on the video and also in the caption, so you can be able to go there,
Perfect.
learn more about the upcoming programs. So we want to thank David
Thank
and
you for
Michelle for
this
being
Thank you for
here.
opportunity.
having us. Thank you so much.
We wouldn't be here without Retrouvaille.
That's right.
So.
There you
That's
go.
the
See,
truth. Yep.
You're a great success, and
Yep.
I've met other
30
people
years.
that
Yep.
30 years, and we want to hear. Everybody loves to hear that, and we appreciate you being
Yep.
here, sharing the mission of Retrouvaille.
Thank you.
So this is Pamela. This is Pamela Keim from Grand Tap Media, and we will catch you next time. Take care, everyone.
The opinions expressed in the preceding program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.